Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 27 male, just achieved a 5-year milestone in less than 3 years, and I earned a good sum of money for my hard work. Since my birthday is coming up soon, I decided to celebrate both at once. I invited my cousin, my friend, and a close colleague at work for a vacation, and I'm paying for everything. We work together and it feels right to celebrate with them. I surprised them with the news a few days ago, and their reaction to the surprise invitation was truly priceless, making all the effort and expense worthwhile. Recently, my brother 29 male called me and wished me an early happy birthday. He congratulated me on my success at work, mentioning that my cousin had informed him about it. It was an awkward moment because we haven't been in touch for a few years and managed to keep our distance from each other. We generally avoid being in each other's space. We made some small talk and he hung up. Then he sent a text asking why he wasn't invited to join my vacation. I replied, explaining I had invited only those who had worked with me on my project. He called again, insisting that he should be included since I invited my cousin and that he is my brother. I maintained that the vacation was solely for those who worked with me on the project, and I had not planned on inviting anyone else, including him. My cousin worked with me, so I invited him. My brother accused me of being self-centered and unaccommodating. He argued that since he's my brother, I should prioritize him in my plans. He kept complaining that he's been working for years now and deserved all the rest and leisure he could get on this vacation, especially since he has been super stressed and losing sleep since he had my nephew some 18 months ago. I understand that family is important, and I've always had the best interests of my family at heart. However, my brother and I are not on the best of terms due to what he did when we were younger. We shared an apartment after college to save money. I did a few odd jobs while he had a regular job, but we split bills for rent and utilities equally, and I never defaulted. Then I got a new job that paid far better than what I had been earning. I shared the good news with my brother, thinking he would be happy for me. He wasn't. Unfortunately, he became extremely jealous of my success. So he tried to screw it for me. He sabotaged me at my job using certain information I told him in confidence. He would send emails, create fake bad reviews, and file complaints targeting me. His action almost got me fired, but I escaped because they were proven false. I felt betrayed when I discovered that he was behind it, and when I confronted him, he could not deny it due to the evidence at hand. We had a major falling out, and I moved out of our shared apartment and cutting off contact with him since he refused to apologize for what he did. It was a devastating period, but I scaled through. Now he wants to be included in my celebration despite contributing nothing to it. He has been acting so entitled about this, going so far as to complain to our parents about my decision. And although my parents informed me of his calls, they suggested that he resolves the matter with me like an adult. He has also been bad-mouthing me to close friends and family, and I have doubts about whether he has truly changed for the better after all these years. I know he has spoken to my cousin because my cousin keeps making subtle suggestions about including my brother. My cousin is unaware of my brother's betrayal as it is a family secret. He thinks I'm a shallow one for not inviting my brother to celebrate with me. I never intended on including any other person, especially my brother, and I made it clear to everyone who asked. Am I in the wrong for my decision not to include my brother? Am I the a-hole? Update. Thanks to everyone who chipped into the conversation, I will be going with just my cousin and friends as planned. My brother stopped bugging me after he forced me to remind him of his actions years ago. He tried to brush it off as nothing, but I reminded him that it meant a lot to me. He made some lame apologies and stopped calling afterwards. My cousin is now aware of his actions and he understands why I took the decision I did. Our vacation is quite close and I look forward to leisure and fun with my pals. You're not the a-hole, OP. It's your vacation. You're allowed to invite whoever it is that you want. Your brother doesn't deserve to be on this vacation. If he thinks he deserves one so badly, then he should go on a vacation himself. What he did when you two were living together was evil. And the fact that he never apologized for it just shows the kind of person he is. Enjoy your vacation with your pals. Your brother hasn't changed a bit. You're right to not want him there with you. Story 2. I, 28 male, am an only child. When I was 12, my parents divorced when my dad found out my mom cheated on him. This was devastating to my dad. My parents were best friends and started dating when they were 17. I played sports and my dad was my coach, so I had a much closer relationship to him than my mom. I was supposed to spend 1 week at my mom's, then the next week at my dad's. But I would usually just lock myself in my room at my mom's. Usually my dad would drop me off and I would get on my bike and ride a couple miles back to his house. My mom would ask me things and I would literally pretend like she didn't exist. It got so bad that lawyers got involved, thinking my dad was turning me against my mom. My dad encouraged me to spend time with my mom, but I couldn't. My mom tried putting us in therapy, but I would just sit there till the time was up, not saying a word to her. Eventually my mom broke down and just let me live with my dad. I haven't spoken a word to my mom in 15 years. She would show up to my games alone. Sometimes I would ask my dad to tell her to leave. Sometimes I didn't even notice she was there. She would try talking to me after, and I would just walk right past her. I cut her whole family off besides a few of my cousins that were around my age. She showed up to my high school graduation, and I asked a couple teachers to remove her, and they did. She never dated anyone else to my knowledge and was still attempting to reconcile with my dad a few years before he passed, calling it the biggest mistake of her life and begging my dad to forgive her. When my dad passed a couple years ago, she tried to show up to the funeral, and I met her outside to ask her to leave. My fiancée Rachel was with me when I did this, and my mom cried upon learning we were engaged. Rachel introduced herself as my fiancée, saying she couldn't believe I hated her still this many years later. So last week, I received a letter from my mom with a large check inside. In the letter she said she couldn't live knowing she wouldn't be invited to her only child's wedding, that her whole family is hurt that I cut them off, and that she had been keeping tabs on me all these years through my cousin's updates out of respect for me, but couldn't handle not being at the wedding. I ripped the check up and sent it back to the return address. She shouldn't have even known my address as I keep her blocked on all social media. I called up my cousins, who admitted that since I was 14, they have been providing my mom with updates on me. Prom pictures, college updates, engagement photos, and they sent her my address. I was so mad that I told them they wouldn't be invited to the wedding anymore, because I don't want my mom getting access to it. Rachel is saying I'm going too far now and uninviting my cousins along with freezing out my mom's whole family because of her actions is an a-hole move. Am I the a-hole? Edit. The cheating was with a teammate's dad. This was highly embarrassing for me and caused me to have to move towns. Caused me to lose friends. She destroyed our family. She also lied to me about it. I heard rumors from my friends about her cheating with the teammate's dad. I confronted her and she lied directly to my face. It went around the town and I eventually moved schools because of it, lost friends because of it. I've never heard more excuses for cheating in my life. If she wanted to leave my dad, then divorce him. I would have been fine and gotten over it. The fact she kept trying to get back with my dad after just ticked me off more. OP, no one can tell you how to feel about your mom. Her affair changed your life. You lost a stable 2-parent home and you had a front row seat to how it affected your dad. That is heavy. Also, your cousins. You have the right to uninvite them. Having said that, if you had close friendships with them until this point, you should try to work things out with them. But be clear about your boundaries. You seem to carry a lot of anger about the past and should maybe look into counseling. These things have a way of screwing up other parts of your life as well as your future. Again, it is your choice who is in your life. It just doesn't sound like how you have coped with it is healthy. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. You have the right to decide who comes to your wedding, end of story. I'm not going to weigh in on your relationship with your mother because you also have the right to associate or not associate with whoever you want to. I don't believe in staying in contact with someone if you don't want to, just because they're related. I'm really confused. It sounds like he set a boundary with his mother. She ruined his family, hurt his father in unforgivable ways, and he didn't want her in his life. That's his right. Hatred and spite? How about accountability? It doesn't matter how long it happened. 16 years? Who cares? She destroyed his family and hurt his father. That never changes. Some things, especially cheating and destroying a family, cannot be forgiven. Saying that his fiancée should consider this a red flag, that's completely off base. It's like you've never heard of NC. She isn't owed forgiveness, and not giving it to his mom doesn't make him an a-hole. Oof, this is a tough one to judge on the exact question you're asking. I'm not seeing that you asked your cousin not to talk to her. So I'm feeling you're the a-hole here. You certainly have the right to be angry at your mother, but holding such an intense grudge for this long over her cheating on your father once just doesn't sit right. This is something you need to actually deal with. Honestly, your mother doesn't sound like that bad of a person. Yes, she made a horrible mistake, but she spent 15 years passionately trying to have some form of a relationship with you while doing everything she can to respect your boundaries. And you gave her nothing for that. If there is more that your mother did wrong, I would understand, but it's just not there. Story 3. Quick background. My ex, child's father, referred to as Fred, was in my life from 2006 to 2010. We dated and had our son in 2009, breaking up the next year. He was still very active in his life, and he saw him every weekend. We had a decent co-parenting relationship. In 2011, he met his now wife, and they were pregnant very quickly with their first child. Around 2013, we stopped hearing from them completely. I moved 2 hours away for work. We live in a very rural state, and the town we all lived in had 0 job opportunities. I offered different ways for him to remain involved, but communication on his end ceased completely after the move. I no longer send updates as he never responded to any for years. He continues to pay child support via paycheck deductions, but has made 0 effort to see my son in nearly 7 years. 2 weeks ago, his wife's friend requested me on Facebook. I noticed that they have since had 3 more children since our last contact, and that they still live in the same town 2 hours away. She is very much the small-town American social media-obsessed type mom. Yesterday, she posted something about her complete family as it was some anniversary. She has all girls with my ex, and her child from a previous relationship was also a girl. Her status mentioned how no boys are necessary to complete our family, and my heart broke for my son. There were lots of comments about how happy this family is and how perfect they all are, how great of a person she and Fred are. She responded to a comment about how hard it must be for Fred to have all girls, that he wouldn't have it any other way. He's the best daddy ever. I got very angry. I left the following comment. Did everyone forget about Fred's son? The one that he all but abandoned 7 years ago because his son moved 2 hours away. The son he never responds to texts or emails about. The son that he has his name tattooed on his arm for the world to see. The son that asks about his sister, apparently sisters now, and Fred regularly. Let's not pretend that this man is some amazing father. He is a deadbeat. There were a lot of confused comments and even people who had no idea Fred had a son. Eventually, she deleted my comment. She messaged me and tore me apart before blocking me completely. In her message, she told me that she and Fred are not responsible for the fact that I moved 2 hours away. And that's just very far for them, so it was hard to make it work. They both were and are gainfully employed with cars and licenses. I told my sister and a good friend about this. My sister believes this was a very "you're the a-hole" move on my part. But my friend thinks they deserved it, especially since she sought me out. Am I the a-hole for confronting her on Facebook? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. She sent the friend request and then made a very specific status about how boys were not necessary to complete their family. Clearly, she only added you so you could see the status. She deserved to be publicly called out on her bullshit. Also, her turning this around on you and blaming you for lack of contact between your ex and son is complete crap. Not the a-hole. Does the phone stop working in your area once you move 2 hours away? It was up to you and Fred to make sure your son still kept contact with his father. Fred is more the a-hole if you tried and he cut you off both completely because of his new family. As for his wife, anyone who wants to spout fairy tale half-truths on social media should be prepared to be fact-checked. She can talk all kinds of crazy in her living room if she doesn't want her and Fred's bullshit called out. Not the a-hole. My stepmom cut my sister and I from a previous marriage out of a perfect family of her 2 boys with my dad. I wish I had the balls when I was 14 making their Christmas card for them and not allowed to put my photo or name on it to call her out. I know how your son feels, and it's a horrible feeling as a kid. You're a good mom, and sometimes mother bear instincts to protect your baby comes in. My mom has done the same. All in all, Fred sucks, the stepmom sucks, and your son and their daughters are missing out on family, which also sucks.